Chapter 6. What Was Never Said. Alara and Aiden POV. Alara. It was raining again. The kind of soft drizzle that blurred the edges of the world, made everything feel just a little more unreal. Like memories that weren't hers anymore, someone else's childhood, someone else's heart. Alara stood under the covered walkway outside the auditorium, arms folded, her glasses fogging at the edges. Her classmates rushed by, their laughter a low hum. None of them looked at her. That was fine. She didn't need them. She didn't need anyone. Not anymore. Her phone buzzed. A group notification. Some last-minute change in the team debate schedule. Her name was paired against one person. Aiden Cross. A laugh, short, bitter, escaped her lips. Of course it would be him. She leaned against the wall, the chill of the stone bleeding through her sleeves. Her eyes wandered, unbidden, to the edge of the courtyard. A place that didn't matter. A memory she had buried. But it bloomed anyway. A swing set. A boy with a scraped knee. Her tiny fingers offering him half a cookie. "You're not crying?" she'd asked. "Boys don't cry," he'd said, sniffling. And then, for reasons she didn't remember, he'd kissed her cheek and called her his princess. She was 5, he was 6. And they had been promised to each other like it was a fairy tale. But fairy tales were lies. She knew that now. Her fingers curled around the strap of her bag. Let the debate come. Let the rivalry burn. She was done pretending to be the quiet girl who felt too much. Aiden. He hadn't meant to see her. Not like that. Wet hair clinging to her cheek, arms wrapped around herself like armor. Standing in the rain like she belonged there. Like the world didn't touch her anymore. Alara. He still remembered the way her name had sounded on her lips that day in the art room. He still remembered the way she had looked at him, like she understood. And he remembered the way he had left her. Coward. Aiden swallowed hard, fists clenched in his pockets. He hadn't planned on falling for her. It had started slowly, little things. The way she never backed down in class arguments. The way her eyes flicked away just as his gaze landed on her. The way she laughed once, quietly, when she thought no one heard. And the dreams, God, the dreams, of her standing in that art room, inches from him, whispering things that turned his bones to ash. Of her pressed close, eyes soft but guarded. Of his hands in her hair, her name a prayer he never dared speak aloud. He jerked his head, trying to shake the image. This wasn't love. This wasn't anything. Just guilt. Just leftover memories. Just her. Later. Debate round. The room was full, tension thicker than air. Aiden stood behind his podium, heart pounding like war drums. Across from him, Alara looked carved from ice, back straight, eyes steely, her words sharp and elegant. She was ruthless. He hated how much he admired that. She was winning. And he knew it. But more than that, he knew what she was doing. Cutting him down with every precise sentence. Not in debate. In revenge. And he couldn't blame her. After. Empty hallway. Wait. The word slipped out before he could stop it. She froze. Didn't turn. Alara, just, wait. She did. But when she turned, her eyes held no softness. Only armor. "What?" she said flatly. He stepped closer. "Back then. The art room. I didn't mean to." "Leave me," she interrupted. "Pretend I didn't exist afterward." He flinched. "I was scared. That makes 2 of us," she said. "But I didn't run." Aiden looked at her like he was trying to memorize the shape of her regret. "I remember," he said. "I remember everything." Alara's face flickered. Something raw, something ancient in her broke through. "You don't," she whispered. "If you did, you wouldn't have left that day." "I didn't know who you were," he said, desperate now. "Not really. Not until." "Too late," she said, voice trembling. "I crushed on you like a fool. Thought maybe that connection meant something." She turned away, then glanced back. "But you know what? It didn't. It was one-sided. Like every fairy tale where the prince never really sees the girl behind the glasses. He wanted to say something. Anything. But she was already walking away. And he didn't chase her. Because deep down, he knew he had no right to. Here's Chapter 7, bringing more emotional tension, deeper character growth, flashbacks, and the introduction of a cute new character who begins to notice Alara in a way Aiden never did, until now. Chapter 7, The Space Between. The library was quiet, save for the occasional scratch of pencil on paper and the soft hum of the old ceiling fan. Alara sat by the window, long fingers resting against a page she hadn't turned in 10 minutes. Her glasses slid down her nose, but she didn't push them back. She wasn't reading. She was remembering. "You're not allowed to cry when I leave," a boy's voice echoed in her head, soft, childish, but warm. "It's just a new city, not the moon. I'm not crying." Her voice had cracked, back then. But she did cry. She'd cried every night for a week when Aiden's family moved away after their unofficial childhood engagement, a sweet gesture between parents that the kids didn't fully understand, but she did, more than she let on. To Alara, he'd been her everything. Her first friend. Her first almost. And then he disappeared. Years later, he came back. Taller. Louder. Smiling like nothing had happened. And then in that art room, that quiet, strange moment between them, he opened up, only to pretend she didn't exist afterward. A betrayal so quiet it left a scream lodged in her chest. She'd buried her old self with it. "Mind if I sit here?" a voice asked gently, pulling her out of the spiral. Alara blinked. A boy stood beside her table, holding a tray of books. He wasn't tall, but he had soft brown hair that curled slightly at the ends and wide, almond-shaped eyes. His uniform was perfectly pressed, and his shy smile carried no arrogance, just quiet charm. "I just transferred last week," he added. "Everything's always full." Alara nodded slightly, gesturing to the seat across from her. "I'm Kieran," he offered as he settled in. "Kieran Vale." Alara. His smile widened. "Pretty name." Alara, like starlight. She blinked at him. No one had said her name like that before. Kieran glanced at her sketchbook lying closed beside her. "You draw?" She hesitated, then nodded. "I love artists. They're the only ones who see the world the way it actually feels." He said it so casually, without trying to impress. Just truth. She studied him more closely. There was nothing loud about Kieran. No shiny spotlight or swagger. Just presence. Warm, unbothered presence. She didn't know what to do with that. Across the room, Aiden stared blankly at the shelf of biographies, one hand clenched into a fist in his pocket. He'd only come in to return a book. But then he'd seen her. Not alone, not unreadable, laughing softly, with him. Aiden didn't even recognize the boy, but the way Alara tilted her head, the way her eyes crinkled just slightly, it gutted him. Like it used to be his place to make her look like that. He didn't even know when he started watching her like this, from a distance, always 1 foot out the door. But lately, her absence in his days left a weight in his chest he couldn't explain. Worse, his dreams had started shifting, less soccer, less noise, and more of her. Her hair slipping over her shoulder as she turned away. Her eyes glinting in that stormy way. And one night, shamefully vivid, her lips inches from his, hands gripping his sleeves. He'd woken up in a sweat, furious at himself. She was a phase, a blip, a mistake. But watching her now, he knew he was lying. And she wasn't even looking at him. Alara walked past him later that day, unaware he'd watched everything. Aiden turned toward her out of instinct. Hey, she didn't stop, didn't even glance his way. Just kept walking like he was a ghost in the hallway of her past. It shouldn't have stung, but it did. It burned.